friends. Welcome back to Not Again, the podcast that brings college-level analysis to preschool-level content. I'm one of your hosts, Rebecca.
I'm your other host, Alan.
And today we are finishing up with Super Wings, which is a show that I think we're talking about for our own cathartic needs and not for anybody else's. I'm starting to think we're the only ones who have seen Super Wings, honey.
Hopefully we're the only ones who have seen Super Wings.
Yeah, no, remember when we were like, this is such a good idea. We can rant and overanalyze children's TV. And then, like, maybe people are hearing this like, why does this affect us? It doesn't.
It doesn't.
We're still going to do it because...
A bit of silliness, really.
Yes, because we're trying to stay sane. Ari is here in his swing with his pacifier. That will last all of 30 seconds. And Warren is at Grandma's house. So here's how today's going to work, because what we did with Corey Carson is we went episode by episode, and we cannot do that for Super Wings. One, because we're no longer practicing podcasting, and two, for one very simple reason. Season 1 of Super Wings is 52 episodes long. There are some episodes I'm not even sure we've seen. Like, they just...
There have to be.
I mean, they've played, for sure, because it always plays in the background.
Yeah, there were some that, like, Warren didn't like.
Yes.
So it would start, and then he would get upset, and then we would just, like, switch to one we knew that he would watch.
For instance, I'm pretty sure we've seen episode 1 only once, maybe twice. He does not like episode 1. He also does not like the beginning of episode 2. This is just something that we have found with Warren being on the autism spectrum. Is there certain things that just set him off that he does not like seeing. One thing he doesn't like seeing is people falling, like the scene in Finding Nemo where the whale shoots them out of his or her, I guess, blowhole and they like fall back down into the ocean. Like, he doesn't like that. So we skip around.
Yeah, and strangely, like, people getting out of peril, that seems to be a thing.
I mean, I'm sure there's another reason for it, but, like...
well, you know, when they were so secure and safe when they were...
trapped in those vines.
Trapped in those vines. Yeah. Now they're loose, and that's overstimulating.
I'm so glad we haven't seen Rescue Riders in a really long time. But yeah, so parenting a child on the spectrum is a new adventure every day. And so what I want to do today instead is talk almost like exclusively about what we have learned, because I think the lessons that this show tries to teach, see like last episode for explanation of education washing, they're just bananas. I'm trying to avoid saying the word crazy, which is why people may have noticed that I say bonkers a lot. Apparently it can be seen as quite offensive to say crazy. I don't know where that started, but I'm willing to jump on board. If it offends somebody, I'm happy to change my language. I might slip up, but I will try to say bonkers or bananas from now on. So that's that. So what we're going to do is this whole episode is going to be what have we learned / the very end probably, would we recommend this show? Spoiler alert, no. But we'll go into why. So let's pretend that we've done a whole episode, and it's time to talk about what have we learned. All right, and just in no particular order, let's go over these. In China, we've learned that pandas are sentient, and they attend shadow puppet plays.
They're just sitting there. I mean, we've discussed that this show is partly Chinese made, so presumably they were cool with it, but it just seems really strange to have, like, I guess their national animal...
It was sitting in the audience.
Yeah, just be of human level...
Yeah.
Cognizance.
So for context, episode 2, Jet goes to bring a shadow puppet to China to a little girl, and she's worried because her father might not be able to attend the performance because he's just opened up a dumpling shop and never thought to hire anybody to help deliver, cook, or serve tables. So he's trying to do all of it himself, which is impossible. So Donnie has to show up to invent a dumpling making machine, and yay, her father can attend her shadow puppet performance. And by the way, the shadow puppet thing, very cool. I've seen like in movies and stuff that done, and it's really fun. But sitting directly next to her father in the audience on a chair is a panda. That panda receives zero explanation, and it's just there. So
also, like, restaurants just have hours.
Yes.
So it wouldn't really matter if, like, because people would just show up asking for dinner at that time.
Right.
So, like, it's not like as soon as you make enough dumplings, you get to go home.
Yes. Or he could just put a closed sign up.
Yeah,
like, closed,
it's his restaurant.
Come see my daughter's shadow puppet performance, and then I'll feed you afterwards. So that's fun. I wanted to say, I did tweet this, but, like, I claimed that the origami paper was probably the cheapest thing he delivered. I'm going to change that to the glow-in-the-dark stars. Assuming it's like good quality origami paper, that could run a few more bucks, than I was originally planning.
It's still just a ream of paper, though. Like, it's not a big ticket item. It's not something that you need a sentient robot army from the Pacific Ocean,
right?
Possibly run by a madman. To deliver that to you instantly.
Right, exactly. Now, in Japan, they get origami paper. They are sad because there's 3 kids and one of their friends has moved. And so they build a giant Gundam-style mecha droid monster out of, Power Rangers Megazord.
Yeah. So Power Rangers is an inspiration here.
And then a mom appears out of nowhere. We don't know whose mom it is. She does not identify herself in any way, and takes these kids on a paper adventure to this 4th kid's house as she's moving away. And basically it's just really stereotypical. A lot of these episodes run on stereotypes, as we discussed in the last episode, so I'm not going to get too far into that. I will say we forgot. So the cop robot's name is Paul, which is such a generic name for a sentient airplane robot to have.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with the name Paul, but if you meet a walking, talking, sentient cop airplane transformer thing, wouldn't you expect its name to be like Zorgo Black's 3000?
Yeah, have some numbers and letters in there.
Yeah. Like
-X5, you know?
Yeah, or, just, I don't know. Just not like a name that anyone could, I don't know. So that's Paul. And then there's a zebra stripe one I forgot to talk about because we did our usual thing of getting off tangent. The zebra stripe one talks to animals, and his name is Bello. And Bello shows up in Kenya. And the lesson in Kenya is, if you are kind-hearted enough to help a baby wildebeest find its family in the middle of a race you are running, allowing yourself to get incredibly far behind the other runners, you will be so good-hearted that you will be able to win that race anyway.
Yeah. Wildebeest power.
Wildebeest power. So the lesson that I talked about last episode with the pirate ship, where they were like, the real treasure is adventure, and so we're going to dump the treasure.
That's a real lesson, at least.
Right.
I mean, they did it in the worst way. It was a very stupid turn of events. Like, none of it made any sense, but it's about the journey. Okay, fine.
Yeah, A for lessons, F for execution. In this one, the lesson should have been very similar. I love running, but it's better to help people out rather than serve my own needs. And it doesn't matter that I lost. I still won the friendship of these wildebeest.
Yeah, I did the right thing, even though it was a sacrifice in some way. Sacrifice usually implies you don't win at the end, right?
Right. And instead, she stops for a couple hours to help some wildebeest and then wins this race anyway. So I guess she gets to have her cake and eat it too. But good for her. So, we wanted to talk a little bit about Norway. You have a thing about the boat. So in Norway, there are Vikings. And it's very interesting if we think about all these cultural, I would say, not ancestral, but old-timey villains that got, reimagined as, anti-heroes. There's Vikings, there's pirates, there's ninjas.
Yeah.
These are all, assassins and predators and bad things that we can't say on a PG podcast.
Right. They would attack your village, basically.
And now we're let's be brave like Vikings, as is the lesson for the Norway episode. Be brave like Vikings.
Yeah. I have a couple of things I wanted to talk about this one. One, it's a Viking camp, and all of the kids are at the Viking camp.
Summer camp.
It's like a summer camp.
Yeah.
And not like an embattlement.
Yes, that's what. Well, I was thinking Skyrim, you go and you find the Nords or whatever, and you.
No, the camp is actually like a fort. No, it is a summer camp for children
who want to be Vikings.
Who's Viking themed.
Yes.
And Jet isn't allowed in there.
Yeah.
It's like okay, he's a walking robot. We mentioned that we don't really understand how they're related to the world. The one guy's kind of the guy in China was whoa, what the heck are you? Other people just completely ignore them or think they're
or accept them as normal.
Or accept them as completely normal. And apparently some summer camps are no robots allowed.
Yes. And So they basically had to be like, I'm sorry, sentient robot. This is a humans only summer camp. Like, did they have an incident that had
Maybe. Well, I mean, the episode doesn't go swimmingly.
Yeah,
like,
it's true. Jet always messes everything up. It's a weird kind of prejudice, for sure.
Well, none of this is ever explained.
Yeah. No, they're just like, nope.
Yeah.
Only the human children. The robot summer camp is down the road.
Yeah.
And then so they go on a Viking ship, presumably to maraud and pillage and destroy and burn down. Just kidding, they're learning about bravery. And the ship gets a hole in it probably because Jet messes it up, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, and it's been a while since I've seen that one, thankfully. Yeah. And they call in Mira to help. Mira's the underwater one. And you have a problem with their process for rescue.
Okay, so the process that they used some bubble gum to patch the hole, and then they started like bailing out water maybe, and there was like they were going to go over the waterfall.
Yeah, of course there's a waterfall,
Of course
right?
there's a waterfall. There cannot not be a waterfall.
Actually, maybe I've said this before, but it just occurred to me, like, that waterfall would have been there even if the boat hadn't sprung a leak. Like, what was their plan?
Yeah, right. So they just got like a whole bunch of kids, put them on a boat towards a waterfall, and that would have been
fine.
And that would have been no, they would have went over the waterfall and all fallen off of the waterfall.
Yeah.
So that doesn't make any sense. They needed more peril, I guess. The leak wasn't enough.
Right. They're sinking. And then Mira shows up and is like, we've got to patch this hole.
With somebody's bubble gum.
With bubble gum, which would not have worked. Pretty sure, but sure.
Yeah.
And their priority was to fix the ship, when instead...
You save the children.
Yeah, just like...
Your airplanes, like, just get them over, you know?
Or like... I don't know, you're flying airplanes. This is kind of like the pirate ship one. Just like fly off of the ship and push it over to shore.
Sure.
It wasn't sinking that fast.
Yeah.
Like, just push it over.
You had enough time to patch the hole, even. Like, so just like, what was with the whole waterfall and like leaving the kids on the boat? Why was there a waterfall? There has to be a waterfall. No ship has ever not gone towards a waterfall.
I know, right? Like, the Emperor's New Groove pointed this out satirically. It's just like, let me guess. There's a waterfall and big
jagged rocks
at the bottom. And yeah, like, they had enough time to wait for some kid to chew enough bubblegum to patch this gaping hole in the ship. And in the meantime, the kid who Jet delivered, I think, a Viking helmet to, learned bravery. And so...
Well, I want to keep talking about this a little bit longer, because the world airport is in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. And so there's a hole in the boat, and it's headed towards a waterfall. And so what do? They call Jimbo on literally the other side of the planet.
They do the conversation. It looks like I have to call the Super Wings. Who are the Super Wings, etc.
And... they must just fast travel instantly, because otherwise it doesn't make any sense.
Yes.
And none of them, like, they all travel instantly. Jet at some point says he's the fastest, but like apparently that they're all the fastest.
Yeah.
So he's not wrong, I guess.
We talked about Grand Albert. So all the planes have their thing. Bello, by the way, helped out with the wildebeest thing. I don't even think I managed to like bring that up. I got so distracted. But like Bello talked to the wildebeest to help them find the baby or whatever. But so Mira's thing is underwater or whatever. Dizzy's thing is rescue. And Grand Albert, we talked about, is a propeller plane who still shows up places instantly.
As fast as the jet rockets, his little propeller is just... And the helicopter. Helicopters are slow.
His thing is essentially bag of tricks, like Mary Poppins. I just pull
like Felix
stuff.
the Cat, magic bag of tricks. You just pull out. He just reaches in and pulls out whatever he needs. Like he opens it up and it's like 5 different comedy items, and then one of them is the whatever exact tool.
Also, this must have been a horrible translation, but at one point he pulls a pocket watch out of his bag of tricks and calls it a grandfather clock. Nope. That's not what that is.
Yeah. Anyway,
Grand Albert's a little not good at identifying clocks. I was going to say senile, but that seems like maybe I'm making...
And he actually is kind of coded older, even though they're all airplanes.
Yeah, so he doesn't have human age. But I suppose if I'm going to avoid saying crazy, I should probably avoid making senility jokes. So Vikings weren't brave warriors. Pirates weren't sexy. I think I said sexy before, so we'll say that.
Yeah,
they weren't sexy.
Rakish scoundrels.
And ninjas were assassins. So, like, it's weird how we have changed that
with
over
enough time, everything's just cute.
Yeah, exactly. or sexy, or cute and sexy. Ew. All right. I'm sorry. In Hawaii, I just wanted to, Hawaii, basically they have volcanoes and hula dancing. So naturally she's going to a hula competition in a sentient van and a volcano erupts.
Right. And also they did the volcano saving out of order too. I don't remember what it was, but like,
oh yeah,
they were like digging this channel to guide the lava.
This was Donnie. He brought a jackhammer.
And like, but he did that like in front of the people still. So there was still just this lava path in their way.
Yeah, they had about a million years to just drive the 10 feet it would have taken to get out of the way of the lava.
In front of the lava.
Yeah, and then he just, as you pointed out, he destroyed the road in order to, quote, divert the lava flow. And so now they have to like fix that road, but the Super Wings don't care. They're leaving.
Yeah, and they do their damage, and for part of Jimbo's nefarious plot to take over the world somehow.
Yes,
and leave. So it doesn't matter.
I mean, it is actually a pretty good plot. Like you send them in under the guise of being helpers, but they rain destruction down wherever they go.
Yeah.
So, remember when there was a flood of waffle batter that picked up an entire town?
That town is no more. It was on Jimbo's list.
Yeah, all right. I like that. And of course, the hula competition, despite seeming to have only one contestant, she wins. So good for her. Warren likes to clap along with the cheering, and
great.
hula along, so that was adorable.
So, clapping and dancing. So, I mean, we can recommend the hula scene.
The last one I want to talk about is Brazil, the samba thing. So Jet delivers a headdress, I believe, to a little girl. And we did talk about this. So there's two, maybe three, but I think it's two. I don't think I've said I think it's two enough times. Episodes where sewing or costume design comes into play, and both episodes have dads doing it, which I think is cool, breaking free of those gender roles, like the mom is the sewer, the fashionista, all those things. That's cool. So the dad is like helping sew her outfit, and she gets a headdress from Jet. He walks right into her house, and the dad is like, cool. And then she reveals that she is going to be, it's Brazil, so Carnival, right?
That's the one thing we know about Brazil.
Exactly. And she's going to be on a float in a parade dancing the samba that night rather. But she doesn't know how to samba. And I'm like, shouldn't this have been a problem that you encountered before this? How did you get on the float?
Well, that's what I was going to say. So presumably the float operator would have chosen someone who danced from the first place, right?
Right. But no, she discovers through comedically falling over that she doesn't know how to samba. So Jerome gets called in because he's the dancing airplane sentient robot to
that is
teach
his
her
special skill.
To teach her how to feel the music. And she learns how to samba in time. But oh no, the float springs a leak in its tire. It's a good thing that Jet had a conversation about spare tires right before they went there. Jet gets a spare tire, and then the little girl invites them to samba with her on the float, and not one person in the audience goes, oh my God, there's two giant sentient airplane robots doing the samba on this float. Like, why are they there? So, so I just wanted to point out that you should probably know you can't samba before you, agree to samba on a float. Samba. I like saying samba. So nothing wrong with Carnival. Again, is like I said about the Dia de los Muertos. The Dia de los Muertos gets talked about a lot because it's cool. Yeah. It's really awesome and it's a great tradition. I just don't want any one culture to be only known for one thing. It veers into stereotype land so quickly. Yeah. So like Brazil has other days of the year. They have other culture. They have other food. They have other things to learn about. But instead, we're going to learn about Carnival.
Yep. Just the one thing, which is, again, it's big and it's cool and everybody, just like Day of the Dead, it's pretty, it's interesting and all that. So, I mean, there are good reasons to, want to talk about it, but just, maybe take a step back and go, what else can we talk about?
Right. I mean, if a Brazilian person told me that they would prefer that episode to be about Carnival, I would shut up. But at the same time, as a Jew, I feel like I'm either known for nothing, like the little girl who asked, what's Jewish the other day, right? Mm-hmm. Like, they don't even know I exist. Or, we just get into stereotype territory where, any Jewish character will be wearing a kippah and a tallis, and they'll be celebrating Hanukkah. And it's like, okay, we only wear those in very specific situations, and Hanukkah is one holiday. I was going to say one day a year. No, it's not. Bad Jew. It's
one
8 days.
holiday.
It's 8 nights of the year. It's one holiday. You know, I mean, it's just... there are so many other traditions and aspects to Judaism as a culture and a religion that it just seems weird to pigeonhole these things. So I don't know. But I wanted to talk very briefly about how season 2 goes. In season 2, Jimbo decides, let's say that Jimbo's probably been caught by the secret agent that he's always trying to find.
No, because we see him on vacation.
No, that's what I'm saying. So he goes on, quote, vacation.
Yeah.
But really, he's just trying to lay low.
He's trying to evade the authorities,
Exactly.
Interpol and all that.
So his
Niece? She's vaguely related to him.
Vaguely related to
They
him.
make that clear somehow. I just forgot.
Okay, she's a child.
Yeah, she's like a tween, maybe.
At best, a
Okay.
tween. She's definitely not a teenager. Her name is Sky because airplanes fly in the sky. Get it?
Yep.
And she works at an airport. But she has been left in control of the entirety of the multi-billion-dollar structure
Secret
known as...
robot army.
Yeah, known as World Airport. So a child is now in control in season 2 because I think that they saw that kids sometimes have tablets and they needed like somebody better to relate to than Jimbo.
I think they just didn't, like, maybe Jimbo didn't test well or something.
That's what I'm saying. And so she has a tablet and a hoverboard, and she does the same thing Jimbo does, where she, like, sends them off with knowing, like, 2 facts about the country they're going to and 1 to 2 words about it. And, like, the very first or second episode of season 2 has him going to Hong Kong where giant monsters are attacking, but then suddenly they realized it was for a movie, but they still had a giant monster for it. Like, it wasn't... They didn't really talk about it being effects. Like
So it was just a real giant monster?
So I think they just, like, found a giant monster for their movie. But I forgot...
You're hired.
So every episode has the same... You know how they reuse stuff... to save on animation, right? They reuse like little snippets of scenes. So every episode is Jimbo sending Jet on his way. He presses 1,000,000 buttons and flicks 1,000 switches, and I don't know what he's doing.
Goes, oh yeah,
and he goes, oh yeah, because he really enjoys flicking those switches.
It's his favorite. Well, he this is his universe. He did it to make himself happy,
right? Except because I think that like Jimbo is just delusional at this point, though, because like Jet does everything on his own. You know, he flies there, he navigates. The only thing that happens is he is in a runway tunnel, and so the door has to open for him at the end. And Jimbo appears to need to flick 1,000 switches and press 1,000,000 buttons to make the door open. And then Jet goes.
Switches and buttons are cool.
Okay. So no one ever knows what those switches and buttons do, but that's why you thought that maybe he might be a Bond villain, because half of those switches are probably just like dipping in the shark tank, right?
To put James Bond in the shark tank.
Right. So
I was going to say kill him, but James Bond never dies in the shark tank. He just gets dipped in the shark tank.
That's what Austin Powers always satirized, is like they were like, you could just shoot him. And they're like, what? No, like has to be overly elaborate and slow and with one inept guard and whatever. So maybe that's what the switches and buttons are doing. Anyway, Sky does not go, oh yeah. She uses her tablet to send him off. Again, not really needing to, because he does it on his own. And so my favorite episode of season 2 so far, though, is when they accidentally send a child to space.
Oh yeah, not Jimbo. Oh yeah, just regular. Oh yeah,
your oh yeah,
yeah,
Alan,
my oh yeah, my realization. Oh yeah,
yeah.
That was China again.
It was, I believe.
And they were, talking about how they're a great space program, and they had like a simulator, and the kid was like playing on the simulator, and then the teacher and the rest of the class and a robot who was there just leave.
Because Jet didn't leave.
They leave this kid alone at the Chinese equivalent of NASA headquarters, and instead of like trying to find the tour group or like whatever, he just decides, or he doesn't decide, he accidentally gets on a conveyor belt that leads him into space.
Yeah, so he's like, which door do I go through? And there are adults in the room he's in with the simulator. He's very into space. This kid is into space. He loves it. And there are adults in the room, but they don't seem to be paying him any attention or mind. And then he like comes upon like 2 doors and is like, which one did they go through? And on the left, we'll say, he could have followed his class and continued the tour of the Chinese equivalent of NASA. On the right, he ends up in space. That's how easy it is. He chose the wrong door. He got into a chair. The chair moved into a spaceship. The spaceship went to space. And now this child is in space. And the astronauts are like, whoa, this seems like a problem. But they're not too fazed by it. So I just love that, like, that you could accidentally send a child to space.
Yeah, when I was on a tour group once with my 8th grade class, I went to the wrong door, and it was a broom closet.
Yeah. But not in the space station. No, you go through the wrong door, and you're an astronaut now, kid. There's no stopping to this procedure either. He couldn't get out of the chair. He couldn't stop the conveyor belt. He couldn't stop the launch.
Nobody noticed enough to just be like, let's get him off of that thing.
It's just like, nope, sorry. And so I haven't seen a lot of season 2, or I have and I blocked it out. But I just like.
Well, do you want to finish talking about that episode?
Oh, okay. Jet rescues him?
Well, no, Donnie has to build him a giant jet pack to get further into space.
Oh, wow. You remember more of this than I do. Okay, go for it.
And then once he gets there, he takes the kid off the spaceship and says, I'm going to bring you home. And the kid goes, this is the best simulator ever. And then he goes, kid, this is not a simulator. And instead of the kid going, realizing he's in life-threatening danger, he just goes like, meh, whatever. And then they go home.
Does Astra show up in that one? I don't know a lot about the new Super Wings, but there's one named Astra who's like a rocket as opposed to a plane, and she does space stuff. Like, I think there was a meteor once.
Maybe.
So, season 1 is like, look, guys, the Loch Ness Monster exists. Season 2 is like, did you know we can make children huge if we want to? Like, it really expands the whole, like, suspend your disbelief thing. So there's one, I think, where they have to make a child huge in order to use his baseball bat to hit an asteroid or meteor.
Back into space, yeah.
Yeah. So Jet goes to Cuba, and this child really likes baseball. Cubans are huge fans, as I recall.
It's a popular sport in Cuba.
Is that bordering on stereotypical again? I don't even know anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. Like I do know it's a popular sport in Japan too. It just is. I don't know if that's a bad thing to say, but anyway. So he goes to Cuba. The kid he wants to hit a home run, and he ends up having to use a baseball bat while giant to knock a meteor back into space. And Grand Albert is there for that one, and Grand Albert reveals that he helped train this kid's idol in baseball back in the day. So, like, Grand Albert has a past.
How long have we had sentient robots? I mean, did they get invented, like, back before we knew what a computer was? Like, how?
Well, that's why his name is Grand Albert.
Okay.
Right? Like,
well, he's the old one.
He's the old one. He's a grandpa.
Okay.
That's why he still has a propeller.
Because he's not as advanced.
They were able to give him instant jet travel, but weren't able to conceive of an airplane without a propeller on it. So they just were like, yeah, I don't know, man. This is just a weird show. So, there's so many other episodes we could talk about. I mean, the fact that they got to go back in time to meet a woolly mammoth, and that child also spoke English. They went back in time and found a cave child. And that child was like, hey, how are you doing?
And I'm not freaked out by this flying machine.
I mean, like, I've only seen that one once or twice, but I'm pretty sure that's it. I also am pretty sure they brought a little girl back in time with them, and she may have fallen in love with this cave child. Like, I feel like they were kind of a Romeo and Juliet thing where they could never be together. Also, she was 5, but, like, still, I mean, Corey Carson insists that, like, small children can feel love of some kind. So
romantic love.
Romantic love. I mean, small children can feel love for their parents and whatever. But yeah, so, like, they were just like, hello, we're back in the Ice Age?
Woolly Mammoth times.
Woolly Mammoth times.
Yeah, Ice Age.
Whatever.
Yeah, so it goes bonkers off the walls.
Yeah. Wait, actually, I was going to like, didn't we learn that mammoths actually walked the earth at the same time as...
The pyramids were...
The pyramids
of Giza.
Were.
So, up in Siberia, like, 12,000 years ago or 10,000 years ago or something like that. They were still just milling around.
Right, something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so who knows how far back they went, but the child still knew English.
Before English.
Yeah.
They were before English.
Yeah, that's what BE stands for. Oh, BCE stands for Before Child English.
Oh, okay.
See, I'm a historian.
Yeah,
Everyone should always listen to me being historical.
We are right about this. Don't tweet us.
Yeah, no, do actually. Why not?
Go ahead. That was a joke.
But no, we're at Not Again Pod. Tell us about how good we are at history. Yeah, I've always been bad about that. I tell my students, I'm like, I'm so bad at history, I can't remember what I had for breakfast this morning. And sometimes they laugh if they pity me enough.
Yeah.
But yes. So we could go on forever because season 2 also has 52 episodes, I believe.
Right.
And so we can't possibly talk about all of these. So rapid fire, we'll talk about a couple things and then we'll talk about do we recommend this show. So in Vietnam, we talked about this last episode. There's a pop star named Kelly. And she has purple hair, and Jet goes to deliver to Kelly wigs to 2 little girls in a house kind of in the not the wilderness, like
the rural area.
Rural area, thank you. And they put on the wigs, and they're big Kelly fans, and they're watching her concert on TV or whatever. And over their TV, they have some Kelly paraphernalia. They have some posters, they have some I don't know, signed things, whatever.
Sure. Just like, we're fans, we got a poster.
Yeah, imagine a little girl's room and like,
You basically nailed it.
She decorates it, right? And then, coincidence of coincidences, Kelly's sentient van slips into some mud and gets stuck right outside their house. And they invite her in, and she sees their... fairly tame, like, wall, like, like, not homage, but, like,
Yeah, well, just decorations. There's no way, it's not even, it's like, some kids will have, like, a shrine to their favorite pop star.
I was almost going to call it a shrine.
But it's not that. It's not, it's like, I'm a fan. That's about it.
Yeah, like it's the equivalent of having a couple Justin Bieber posters, it's like, and like a t-shirt.
Yeah.
But she sees this and she goes, wow, you really are big fans. I've never seen anything like this. And, like... Pop stars are quite aware that people buy their posters and put them up. Otherwise, why sell the posters?
Yeah, you should probably get sales figures, and they're like, sell more,
Like, to say, like, oh, wow, I've never seen anybody with this much dedication to me, and it's, like, a few decorations. It's like... you might just not be aware, Kelly. Maybe you need to go into more of your fans' houses. Only don't. They'll, like, snip your hair and smell it. So naturally, she lets them come to her concert, which she's a huge pop star and happens to be singing a song about, airplanes flying because Jet helps her get there.
Right.
And Dizzy ends up being a fan. Dizzy's like, I didn't know we were coming to rescue Kelly. Squee. And it's like... Dizzy strikes me as the Justin Bieber type. Like, she's just super,
And they get to go on stage, right, and sing. And in real life, no, they wouldn't. They just they'd get really good tickets. And another thing that kind of weirded me out, in a different way, was that the stadium was just in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, it wasn't even like a stadium, and it's seated like 400 people at most. So, and I suppose they didn't want to animate the thousands and thousands of fans. Yeah, that's probably the reason. But yeah, she, like, good for her. They didn't want to animate a city, I guess. Doing smaller shows for people who can't get to the bigger ones, Yeah, real fan, real service to your fans. And then Hollywood. We have already talked about how they learned that on movie sets they say cut and action and whatever because you can't teach an English-speaking robot new words in English. So he's like, this is the language of Hollywood. Hollywood is not the place where movies get made. Maybe it was once upon a time. I mean, I assume it was, whatever. But now there's Studio City. And, like, it doesn't happen in Hollywood. But he goes there, and this kid wants to film a movie about aliens attacking. And he has this friend, I don't know, we'll name her girlfriend, but not girlfriend, but, like, friend who is a girl. And I don't remember her name at all, but she's like, I don't want to be in your movie because you're being mean to the aliens, and I only want to be friends with somebody who's nice. And I just want to, like, shake her and be like, sometimes movies are about aliens being bad. Like, I only want to be friends with someone who's nice. Like, she like stalks, and so he has to like change his entire movie script just to stay friends with her and be like, we're going to be unified with these aliens instead. And it's like, honey, if you actually encountered an alien and it was growling and flailing at you, you wouldn't be like, good, friendship time, okay? Like, sometimes things are mean, and action movies exist. Maybe we should try that. Just like, make sure to just hug first and ask questions later. Yeah, I mean, there'll be a lot of casualties, but like, at least we won't say that we're mean. Yeah, at least we tried, So the lesson that we learn here is that friendship is always the answer, even though it's not. Like, it just, like, I'm sorry. Even though this movie sucks now. This movie's terrible now. Like, he wanted to film an action space adventure, but his friend who is a girl was like, no.
And so he was like, oh, I understand now that kindness comes first. And it's like, just because he's filming an action movie doesn't mean he's like cruel to everyone he meets in real life.
It's like, I can't wait to actually hurt an alien.
Yeah, like this. It's not like he was gonna be the world's next Dexter or whatever just because he wanted to like show aliens destroying a city. But no, they had to. He was just like scream in terror, and she's like, I can't because I don't like you anymore. And he's like, what? Why? And of course, Jet is there, and Jet calls in Jerome because Jerome is the performer.
And then it's over?
Yeah, they filmed a nice movie and learn about friendship or whatever.
Okay.
The point is, Hollywood is not where movies get filmed anymore. Go visit Universal Studios. It's really fun. There's one in Orlando. There's also one in Los Angeles.
Don't do it now.
No, please don't. Please don't.
Wait for the world to calm down a bit and then go.
Yeah.
Go see a site.
Universal Studios in California has Universal City Walk as well, which is this huge, fun outdoor mall, as long as you're not kind of like claustrophobic, because it's, a lot of people. Do that when, a vaccine exists. I have wondered if people think we're being callous by just talking about like kids shows randomly without acknowledging that the world is on fire right now.
The show must go on.
But we are doing this literally, like we say, like every week, thank you for helping us stay sane. And we're doing this for our own mental health. And I want to point that out. Like, we started this podcast, we're hoping somebody listens to it and enjoys it or whatever. But we did this so that we could feel like, like we're being productive in a time when our country is doing nothing to prevent death. Like, we're trying to find something to focus on and also just kind of help us maintain our own mental health.
Do something a little bit creative.
Creative and fun.
Yeah.
That's it. So we have gone for 30 minutes. I don't know if this was interesting to anybody, but this show is hilarious. Would we recommend it? There's a certain type of game that adults play, adults 21 and over play, 21, what you can do when you're 21. There's a certain type of game that sometimes they'll play where they look for certain events to happen in a movie or show, and then they do a thing. It's called a drinking game. It's called a drinking game. I'm sorry. I feel like if adults were doing that with this show, it could actually be fun. I think
it'd be too much fun. I think it'd be harmful.
It'd be harmful because you'd have to really narrow down the rules.
Yeah.
Like every time Jet says he needs to call the Super Wings and the person he's talking to does not know who the Super Wings is, and I don't know, what else would you add?
The transform.
Oh yeah, when he yells transform.
When Jimbo says, "Oh yeah."
When Jet makes a situation worse
rather than better. Yeah.
When he couldn't, like, when that situation would not have even happened if he just left after delivering the package, as people are supposed to do, and even sentient airplanes are supposed to do. Oh, right. There's this one time. Okay, we have to end with this. So Jerome is a little persnickety, and Jerome is like, your job isn't so hard, Jet. And Jet is like, no, my job's plenty hard. So they switch for the day, and Jerome has to go to somewhere with
Thailand. With elephants, I think.
Yes, it's the one with elephants. So he goes to Thailand. Jerome goes to Thailand in Jet's place to deliver a package. And the fact of the matter is that he learns, wow, Jet's job is really hard, because he also does what Jet does, which is stick around and make things worse and then have to clean up his own mess. And the fact of the matter is that if Jet just left after delivering packages, his job would not be that hard and Jerome would be right. But it's still important. People need their packages. It's just if he was here's your package and left, he would not have a very difficult job.
No, he wouldn't.
So
and the rest of the Super Wings wouldn't need to exist.
Where in Jet's job description, yeah, that's true. Maybe that's the reason that they programmed Jet to mess things up, just to give the other Super Wings a reason to exist. But where is it said in his job description, you have to stick around to make sure that the child uses this package correctly before, it just, yeah. So Jerome learns his lesson, and what he learns there is wow, Jet, I was wrong to disparage you. Your job is hard, but it isn't.
It just isn't.
Unless his job description literally includes stick around, live in their house, mess things up, then fix it.
Yeah. Which is what happens.
That's that. Would I recommend this for children? If your kids like airplanes like our kid does, it is a harmless show. Yes, there's some stereotypes in there. Yes, it pretends to be educational when it absolutely is not. But he really enjoys seeing the airplanes. He calls it airplanes. So...
Well, I mean, we have to say we would, I guess, because we did let our kid watch it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're kind of in for a penny here. So,
don't seek it out.
Don't seek it out.
Don't seek it out. If your kids have shows that they like watching that you feel you can watch without losing your mind, do those first. Don't be like, "Ooh, I heard about Super Wings on this podcast. We should definitely seek out this show and put it on purposefully." Like, if they encounter it on their own, like our son did, that's fine. You don't have to rush to change the. I was gonna say change the channel,
but that's anachronistic now.
Yeah,
that's of a different time.
So just you don't have to rush to change the streaming service. Thank you to everybody for listening to us ramble on about children's shows. Thank you for helping us to stay sane for one more week. You can tweet at us at Not Again Pod. You can search us up on Facebook. Not Again with Alan and Rebecca is the name. Alan and Rebecca. I said Alan and Rebecca is the name of our Facebook page. We just post episodes and little updates there. You might also notice that our cover photo is slowly evolving. I'm having some fun with that one. Quickly previewing next week, we are going to be finally posting our Alan Guesses the Plot episode of Disney Pixar's Cars. And I wanted to just give you the heads up that we recorded that when I was pregnant, and we were both tired, and I was probably breathing heavily because, my lungs were being squished by a large baby. And so the audio quality is probably not going to be as good as it is hopefully now. I hope it is. I hope you find the audio quality to be good.
I think we've improved some, yeah.
I hope we've improved as well, but it's still just a fun episode. The premise is that Alan had never seen Cars, and I had, so I made him try to guess what Cars was about without knowing what Cars was. So look forward to that, and then after that, we will talk about The Secret Life of Pets 2, not Secret Life of Pets 1.
Because we haven't seen it.
We haven't seen it. So that's it. Thank you again for listening, and we will catch you next time. Until then, I'm Rebecca.
And I'm Alan.
Bye, friends.